Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are digging into a massive, frankly, game-changing shift happening right now in the world of B2B marketing. We are seeing a huge move away from traditional demographic targeting, just blindly aiming at job titles, and a major pivot toward community-based intent targeting over on Reddit. We're going to dive deep into how to find the exact right subreddits for advertising, because understanding this transition, it completely rewrites the customer acquisition playbook. Let's get right into it.
83%. I really want you to let that number sink in for a second. According to the absolute latest data, 83% of B2B decision makers are now performing independent deep dive research before they ever even think about speaking to a sales rep. The whole paradigm of enterprise customer acquisition has permanently transitioned. Buyers are totally bypassing traditional outbound sales channels. They're not waiting around for your cold email, and let's be honest, they aren't relying on your highly polished vendor website to give them the unvarnished truth. Instead, they are taking matters entirely into their own hands. They're seeking out self-directed, context-driven research environments. This single metric proves a hard truth. If you aren't capturing your buyers while they are in that independent research phase, you've already lost them.
So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with 1, the B2B paradigm shift. Then 2, the subreddit targeting advantage. Next, 3, tools for subreddit discovery. After that, 4, vetting your target communities. And finally, 5, layering for ultimate precision.
All right, section 1, the B2B paradigm shift. Let's look at how acquisition is changing.
When we break down modern buyer behavior, it reveals a pretty fascinating trend. Notice that first data point? 73% of buyers identify peer recommendations as their single most trusted source for product evaluation. Makes sense, right? But it's that second stat that is the real game changer for us today. 88% of social media users consult Reddit specifically for purchase decisions. And crucially, almost half of them, 46%, express greater trust in the brands that actually show up and advertise there. Think about what this means on a practical level. People are migrating to Reddit specifically to get real, unvarnished advice from their actual peers. They're actively comparing products, they're venting about challenges, and they are rigorously evaluating tech stacks. Reddit is no longer just some casual forum. It has become a central hub for serious B2B decision-making.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates exactly why the shift is happening. 76% of users say Reddit content is just more honest than other digital channels. Look, if you're a media buyer or marketer right now, I know you are feeling the pain of rising customer acquisition costs on traditional platforms. Ads are getting way more expensive and audiences are getting way more cynical. But try framing Reddit through this new lens. It is the ultimate self-directed research engine. It's a highly concentrated assembly of technical decision makers who are actively bypassing your sales team to find out what their peers really think behind closed doors. Your buyers are already there, and they're listening. The question is, are you talking to them?
Which brings us to section 2, the subreddit targeting advantage. Let's talk about targeting the right room.
So what exactly do we mean here? Subreddit targeting is the practice of placing ads directly within highly specialized, self-selected micro-communities based on real-time intent, rather than just static demographic data. Think about traditional professional networks for a second. Over there, you're targeting a static job title, like, say, data engineer. But here's the flaw. You have absolutely no idea what that person is actually doing or thinking about at that very moment. On Reddit, the platform functions as this massive user-powered interest graph. Users self-select into over 100,000 active micro-communities. You aren't just targeting a job title anymore. You're targeting an active, real-time conversation about a very specific problem your buyer is trying to solve today.
This structural difference really boils down to a pretty simple analogy. It's a broad spotlight versus a precise sniper rifle. Broad demographics act like that spotlight. You're grouping users based on platform-wide browsing behavior, which means you are mostly capturing passive lurkers who probably aren't even in a buying mindset. But subreddit targeting, that acts like a sniper rifle. You are placing your ads directly within highly relevant, highly active communities. You're literally buying a placement inside a self-selected room of your exact ideal customers. Think about it. If you sell cybersecurity tools, you don't just want anyone who works in IT. You want the people in the specific cybersecurity subreddit who are actively asking for tool recommendations right now. It captures active problem-solving behavior with just incredible efficiency.
And here is exactly why your CFO is going to absolutely love this explainer. Because of this high precision, you can achieve cost per clicks as low as 50 cents. I mean, we are talking about high-intent programmatic acquisition at a tiny fraction of what you'd pay on platforms like LinkedIn. While your competitors are shelling out $5, $10, maybe $15 a click to reach a generic professional demographic, you can reach those exact same data engineers, security leads, or SaaS founders in their own self-selected rooms for single-digit CPMs. It's a massive, massive financial advantage for B2B advertisers who actually know how to navigate the platform.
Moving on to Section 3, Tools for Subreddit Discovery. Let's look at the modern discovery stack.
Okay, before we look at the current tools, we definitely have to talk about the elephant in the room, the post-Gummy search era. For years, if you were doing this, Gummy search was the absolute gold standard for Reddit audience research, but in late 2025, it shut down after failing to reach a commercial API licensing agreement with Reddit. And wow, did that create a massive gap in the market for subreddit discovery, keyword monitoring, and lead detection. Since no single tool has swooped in to perfectly replace all of its features yet, advertisers today have to adapt. You need to adopt a new, specialized stack of AI discovery tools to find these niche communities. So here's a condensed look at the absolute best tools on the market right now to build out your new stack. First up is Psy. Psy is fascinating because it completely bypasses the API risks that killed Gummy search. It actually uses AI to browse Reddit exactly like a human user would, reading posts, analyzing the comments, and returning incredibly deep qualitative research. Now, it takes minutes instead of seconds to run, but the depth is just unmatched. Next is subreddit signals. If your sole focus is finding commercial intent, this is your go-to. You just paste your landing page URL, and its AI scores different subreddits based on buyer intent language, like, people actively looking for recommendations. Then we've got Reddit Master. This one offers the closest feature parity to the old Gummy search dashboard, which is great, though keep in mind it still relies on that risky Reddit API. Finally, F5Bot. If you just need a totally free, set-it-and-forget-it tool to monitor your brand or competitor keywords across the platform, F5Bot is phenomenal. It crawls the web rather than relying on the API, and it sends you email alerts within minutes. So depending on whether you need deep commercial intent or just basic keyword tracking, these are the tools you absolutely need to be testing.
Now, as great as those third-party tools are, you cannot ignore native discovery tactics. You've got to get your hands dirty on the platform itself. Start by searching your core keywords natively right in the Reddit search bar and just see what communities pop up. You want to map your ideal customer profile directly to these communities, both the obvious core ones like r/SaaS, but also the adjacent ones like r/marketing. Also, make sure you're utilizing Reddit Pro. The audience overlap feature is fantastic. It helps you discover those hidden adjacent communities where your ICP is also spending a ton of their time. Track your competitor mentions to build out conquesting campaigns, and vitally, I see people miss this all the time, make sure you are updating your targeting lists quarterly. Subreddits evolve, they change rules, they die out. You need to consistently prune the underperforming ones while testing out new trending communities.
All right, Section 4, Vetting Your Target Communities. Let's talk about qualifying subreddits. You literally cannot just throw ad spend at a subreddit just because it happens to have a relevant name. You must vet it using this concrete step-by-step framework. Step 1. Check the daily active threads. You need steady daily activity, not just a high historical subscriber count from 5 years ago. Step 2. Read the promotional rules. Seriously, read them thoroughly. Many technical subreddits strictly forbid promotional content, and you really need to know the environment you're walking into. Step 3. Match buyer vocabulary. Look at the top posts for the month. Does the language they use mirror your buyer's exact vocabulary? If they're using totally different jargon, you're probably in the wrong room. Step 4. Gauge community sentiment. Scroll through the existing promoted posts in that subreddit. How does the community actually treat advertisers? Are they open to a discussion or are they instantly hostile? You absolutely have to read the room before you spend a single dime.
I cannot stress this point enough. High subscriber counts can be deeply, deeply misleading. A subreddit might boast 1 million subscribers, but if they're all passive lurkers or inactive accounts from a decade ago, it is completely inefficient for a conversion-focused B2B campaign. The rule of thumb here is really simple. Spend at least 30 minutes actually inside the community reading it. Just sit there and read. If you can't sit in a subreddit for half an hour and clearly understand how the community talks, the frequency of their posts, and their overall tone, you absolutely should not be advertising there yet.
And this brings us to a somewhat harsh truth, perfectly captured by this quote from our source material: Reddit punishes fake. More than any other B2B channel, your tone has to be real. It's true. You have to go native. If you barge into a highly specialized community blasting some generic, heavily polished corporate ad copy, you are going to stick out in a bad way, and the community will push back hard.
Your ads shouldn't actually read like ads. They need to sound like they were written by someone who actively uses the product and intimately understands the community's culture. Lead with extreme clarity, use their specific language, and try to start a conversation rather than just shouting a pitch at them.
Let's head into our final major topic, Section 5, Layering for Ultimate Precision. Targeting combinations.
The real magic of Reddit ads is that you don't actually have to pick just one targeting method. Notice how combining different parameters builds this airtight programmatic campaign. You anchor your entire strategy with Slice 1, subreddit targeting. This defines your core audience, the specific rooms where your buyers are already hanging out. Then you layer on Slice 2, keyword targeting. This is huge because it ensures your ad only shows up when users in those specific communities are using high-intent words like best tool for or recommendations. Finally, you secure the very bottom of your funnel with Slice 3, Pixel or Conversions API retargeting. This captures those warm leads who have already visited your site and validates them against their Reddit activity. For B2B SaaS especially, combining these three elements creates ultimate precision. It virtually eliminates wasted ad spend.
Now, to layer effectively, you've got to understand the technical mechanics of Reddit's targeting logic. It's basically OR logic versus AND logic. Let's break it down. If you're using OR logic within a single targeting type, like say you list 10 different subreddits, the system qualifies users if they match any of those communities, right? This casts a wide net, broadening your reach, which is excellent for top-of-funnel brand awareness and discovery. However, when you combine different targeting types, like community targeting alongside keyword targeting, Reddit applies AND logic, meaning users must match both the subreddit activity and the keyword context to ever see your ad. This severely narrows your audience pool, but man, it creates a hyper-concentrated segment of users who are primed and ready for high-intent conversions. You just have to make sure you're choosing the right logic based on your specific funnel objectives.
So, how do we execute this perfectly? Here are a few rapid-fire best practices. Always start by isolating your targeting variables into separate ad groups. This is absolutely crucial so you can A/B test exactly what is driving your leads. When you're targeting communities, cast a wide net initially with 15 or more subreddits, but make sure you apply negative keywords to ensure brand safety. You want to actively exclude broad or notoriously anti-promotional subreddits as you optimize. And crucially, do not neglect your own first-party data. Retargeting your site visitors, especially those who viewed your pricing page within the last 7 days, is consistently one of the top converting strategies you can deploy.
Which brings us to our final thought for today. I really want to leave you with this provocative question to chew on. Is your ad spend guessing or is it listening? Because look, if you are still relying entirely on broad demographic targeting, you're honestly just guessing. But if you embrace subreddit targeting, if you utilize these AI discovery tools, take the time to vet your communities and layer your targeting for that ultimate precision, you are finally listening to what your buyers actually want. Stop blasting static job titles and start engaging with community-driven intent. That is exactly how you win in the modern B2B landscape. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.